Avoid these home builders in Florida. If you are thinking about buying new construction in Florida, if you're thinking about buying new construction in Palm Beach, this is a video you're going to want to see. My name is Ray Fernandez. I'm with Living in Palm Beach, Florida, powered by eXp Luxury. Welcome. Each week we come out here to help you guys perhaps relocate or consider relocating to this area we call Florida. There are lots of things involved. I've done it, I know. We highlight many new construction communities each week. We are a new home code broker, working with a lot of the builders down here in Florida. And if you are looking or considering moving to Florida, mark this channel. You use this as a resource because we do a lot of relocations with people looking to move to this beautiful part of the world we sometimes call Florida. When I say sometimes, I mean it's not all bright and sunny here. There are things. We are, as I mentioned, we are a new home co-broker. We work with all the builders in the area. I'm going to highlight some of the builders you should be thinking about and some of the business you should avoid. Most of these builders have pros and cons, and it really depends mostly on you, what your expectations are. We speak with people all the time, literally every day, considering moving to this area. And we can lots of times help people decide where to focus on depending on what you're thinking of when it comes to building new construction here in Florida. 18 years ago, my family and I relocated to this beautiful area we call Florida, and we haven't looked back. Today, we truly find honor to help people, perhaps like you, do the exact same thing. So if you're thinking about moving to Florida and you want to ask questions from people who've actually done it before, there's a few ways to get a hold of us. Down below is our email address. That's one great way. Also on the screen, you see our phone number. You can either call or text that number. But literally two of the best ways is in the description and in the comments section. There's a link. Click on that link. What that'll do is that'll set some time for us to speak either through a phone call or through a Zoom, whatever way you feel most comfortable. In any case, we have your back when it comes to relocating to here to Florida. Let me mention some builders right here off the bat. And these are some of the more popular builders in our area. There's D.R. Horton, there's Lennar, there's Kenco, there's GL Homes, there's Coulter, there's Toll Brothers, there's K. Ovanian. All these builders have certain attributes. It depends on what you're looking for. That is the builder that you should be looking at. If you pick the wrong builder, depending on what your objectives are, you're going to hate it. I've seen it. I know it. We can help guide you in that regard. As an example, today in South Florida, Lennar, the builder Lennar, who I know sometimes gets a really bad rap. If you look at their ratings on Google, they get like a half a star or something like that. But there is a place for Lennar in many places. But today in Florida, here in South Florida, where we work Port St. Lucie down to Miami. Here in our area, Lennar is mainly doing spec homes, which means you can get a good deal on it from a price perspective. But if you're talking about customizing your home, avoid using Lennar. That's just not their business model here in South Florida. The other big home builder in the area, the national publicly traded, and I'll get more about what this means, nationally traded companies is D.R. Horton. We don't have a lot in Palm Beach with them, but they are very prevalent in areas such as Port St. Lucie. So Lennar and D.R. Horton, I like to think of them as sort of entry-level builders. Of course, Lennar actually is more D.R. Horton than Lennar. But Lennar, you can get like high-end stuff with them. You can get medium and lower-end stuff, but they also do in a community called Arden, as an example. They are very prevalent in Arden, and you can buy a home there for up to $1.5 million. So don't think of them only as an entry-level builder. And there's a lot of good. I've learned how to navigate their timeline, and if you want help on that, reach out to our team. We'd love to help you. I'm going to use the map in a minute just to give you some of the communities locally here and the builders and whatnot. But there are also some top tier builders. Now, I say top tier, I mean when you are looking at high-end luxury, which is our real market. Living in Palm Beach, Florida, our true market is in luxury real estate. And so we find ourselves dealing with a few of them, a few builders like GL Homes, like Coulter Builders, Coulter Homes, Both of them are at the top end in terms of quality, in my opinion. They all cost a little bit more money. I think I'm going to use Avenir, now that I think about it, to review some of the aspects of the different builders and what to expect. Your expectations with each builder should be different. And I'll give you a great example. If you go and buy a home with the builder, there's usually options, your options appointment, the following about a month, 2 months later, your following follow-up with the builder after you've gone to contract. One builder, you seem to spend more money on options. Are their standards higher or lower than others? Maybe, that's it. But Toll Brothers, another prevalent publicly traded company, high-end, and people think of Toll Brothers, think of high-end, but our feedback, and we work with people from all across the country moving here, and we get a ton of feedback. The feedback we get is that, generally speaking, if you're going to buy with them, you're going to spend a little bit more money when it comes to options and upgrades. All right, here's a map of Florida as a whole. Literally, to drive from here to Key West, I mean, you're talking about a long time. You're talking probably about 15 hours. It is a big state. We here at living in Palm Beach, Florida, we work with realtors all across the state. I have partners in Tampa. I have partners in Sarasota. I have partners in Naples. I have partners over here in the Panhandle of Florida. So if you're thinking about those areas, reach out to our team. I have legitimate realtors. Vetted, I should say, realtors out in those areas that we've worked with, and I could help you. Primarily, though, locally, and my team locally, we work this area, Port St. Lucie to Miami, and I want to give you some of the master plan communities in this area. If you're moving to this area, there are basically 3 currently today master plan communities that a lot of people are looking at and considering because they have the best value and a lot of availability when it comes to new construction homes. Those communities are Westlake, Arden, and Avenir. Let's look at Avenir as a whole. So this is a good subset of what you can expect from builders. So Avenir is in the city of, look at that big exclamation point, like I don't know what I'm doing. It's in the Google, get your act together. It's in the community of Palm Beach Gardens. It's in Western Palm Beach Gardens. And the reason why it's in Western Palm Beach Gardens is because there is not a lot of room, not enough area to build here on the eastern end, because it's been built already. The most of the new construction is in the western portion of Florida. So as we move further west, this is the big area of Avenir. Now Google is starting to populate some of this stuff. But it is still not a lot of not. This is Toll Brothers. When you go to Avenir, this is like our number 1 community right now. 4,000 homes master plan community. One of the best. If I were to move, I got asked this question last night by a buyer. If I were to move, where would I move? And there's one place in particular I would move here. If you want to find out who it is, where that is, reach out to our team. But it is in here in Avenir. But this is a good subset of builders, and I'll explain the builders and the differences between them using this to start here at Avenir, the biggest master plan community, or one of the biggest master plan communities here in South Florida. So when they started building this community, they started with this and this, Avenir. Avenir is it's basically, let me zoom out a little bit, is 5,000 acres, and they're building on 2,500 acres, rough numbers, here. So there's a lot of preserve area, which is nice because they're not going to build on that. There's also an airport up here. So if you're some high-end places out here, you have $20 million homes out this place. So if you want market value, this is the place I look. Anyway, so if you want to take your private jet from a small airport, that's where you do it. But getting back, Avenir Drive, they're now building this Coconut as this area expands, Coconut Boulevard. But when they first opened this community, Toll Brothers opened, and so did Coral Isles, which is Kenco. And I'll start with explaining about those 2 builders. Builders in general do not like to be called custom builders unless they truly are. These guys, both of them, Kenco and Toll Brothers, will call themselves production builders. And they do it from all kinds of legal perspective to phrase them, call themselves that. But having said that, let me give you a little bit. Toll Brothers is a nationally publicly traded company. It is a stock. It is a company where their stock is traded on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol TOL, TOL. Because of that, like Lennar, which I mentioned briefly earlier, they have to answer to shareholders. So each quarter they have numbers, and their sales managers are given, they put a lot of pressure on them to get the numbers in, to show their numbers for earnings so they can appeal to their shareholders. This is not always a good thing, because sometimes they will not rush things, but they need to make certain deadlines. And if you have a walkthrough of a home and they need to get it closed that month, it might not be exactly ready. And that's what happened. I think it's less of a situation in that regard with Toll Brothers versus Lennar. Lennar you do have sometimes a problem, another publicly traded company. But Toll Brothers in general is a high-end company. You're not buying a cheap house with Toll Brothers. It is a high-end and high regarded. I have found, and again, lots of feedback as a new home co-broker. I've got lots of feedback, and the people either love them or hate them. With Toll Brothers, we have found that in general that people will spend a lot more money in upgrades. It's just not that the standards are low and all, but they just do. If you are looking at a luxury house, you look at Toll Brothers, and you have your expectations are probably higher than most others if you're going to buy a first-time home. So in general, we find people will spend a little bit more in that regard. Turning over to Kenco. Kenco is one of my favorite builders. They are a local builder, high end, and they are more customizable. Let me rephrase that. They hate using that term. These builders hate using that term customizable unless they're a custom builder. They allow more personalization, which is a word they like to use at Kenco. But in using that, I'll go to the map again in a second. That Coral Isles community, the homes there are $2 to $3 million. So you're going to spend more money to get that extra personalization if you're going with Kenco or a builder, a high-end builder like that. So we're back to the map. I don't want to stay here in Avenir the whole time, so I need to get out of here in a minute. But really briefly, Regency is another Toll Brother community. It is a 55-plus community. Wingate, another Toll Brothers. Up here's a nice community. It's Avondale. It's if it's sort of the entry level in Avenir. You can get in there under $1 million. The other communities it's challenging to get in there for under $1 million. Apex is the new one. Apex is one that we've done a lot of business with so far this year. They sold a lot of homes in a very short period of times. And if you want to know more I did a couple of videos on this community. This is truly a unique builder. A unique community. You have to, if you're looking in this area, this is one of the communities I would definitely consider. It's got a lot going for it, and I'm not going to elaborate anything more than that, except to explain that the builder is GL Homes. We do a lot of business with GL Homes. In fact, in one of their communities in Arden, which we'll go there in a minute, we've been asked by them to list some of their homes, and we've actually listed 3 recently, sold 2, working on getting the last one done as we speak. They are a local builder who is extremely high regarded. If you look in the Boca area, they did the Boca Bridges. They did all those canyons over in the Boynton Delray area. If you're new at the area, you'll get this. But they don't really go outside of this area. But they are in South Florida here in Palm Beach. But they are really high regarded, and I have found that in general, people who have worked with them are happy. I think that there's some of the best sales consultants in the business work at GL. That's my opinion. And I do this because I speak to every builder in the area. Avenir happens to be one of their best communities right now. They also have a community I've recently highlighted called Lotus Edge. They do Lotus Edge, Lotus Palm. They just have a lot going on. It's one of the builders we definitely look to. And they have a lot of things that are unique to themselves. Moving on, I want to go to, and I'll highlight these next 2 builders by looking at the community of Westlake. All right, so we're back to the map, and I'm going to just zoom out a little bit here. These are all pretty close to each other, these communities. So I'm zooming out. Here's Avenir, and we'll go in here to Westlake. This is how they advertise Westlake. Westlake, Florida's newest city. It is. They developed this literally in 2016. It was incorporated. I think it was 2016. It was incorporated. Didn't really start building for a couple years later. This property was bought out, and you can see Google is not up to date with this stuff. This is a lot more developed now. There's going to be over 4,000 homes there. They bought this. Minto is the builder. Minto. It's a Canadian company. They are very targeted. This builder is very targeted as to where they go. They did a place called Margaritaville in other area of Florida that is very popular. They have some stuff in Naples, Florida, which is very popular. They will go and buy big pieces of property and then just build. That's what they did here in Westlake. They bought this out, and I like Minto a lot. Let me elaborate a little bit on that. Our number one builder last year, number one of the business we did last year, the first half, our number one was Minto. Westlake it still is, but especially back then, very sought after, and it was really hard to get into. It is a hard place to make an appointment with. So when I have someone looking at certain places, I tell them we need to get like anything, you need the right consultant when you're working. By the way, if you walk into any of their sales centers without on your own and go right to the builder, you're absolutely crazy. More on that later. But when we go to Minto and make an appointment, it takes more time because I want to get the right consultant to help you. And then because the demand is really high at sometimes, you need a little bit of advance time to get that right person. Having said that, from start to finish, they do a great job, Minto. What's great about Westlake in particular is, and it's true about the builder in general, they have a ton of floor plans. At Westlake, they have 42 floor plans. Never once have I heard, I didn't find a floor plan I liked at Westlake. It just doesn't happen because they have so many. But so that's our number one, that's the number one builder, from a number of homes perspective in Westlake, which is Florida's newest city and fastest growing city. Going back to last year, 1/3 of all permits in Palm Beach came from that city. But let me elaborate on another area in Westlake with another builder that Minto sold this piece of property to this builder because they didn't want to get involved in the 55 plus space, which we do a lot of business in. All right, back to the map. If you look here at Westlake, here's the sales center at Minto. Listen, if you want to look at new construction homes, you need independent representation. You're crazy not to. We need to be there on your first visit if you want us to help you. It's our business model. It's what we do. We help people. I'll give you a good example. If you go into this sales center, as an example, there are existing homes for sale in here. The builder is not going to tell you what they're competing with because they want you to buy their home. They want you to buy their community, their builder's home. They're not going to tell you if there's a home over here that is for sale that was a resale from 2 years ago. I can do that. Are living in Palm Beach, we can do that. That's what we do. So that's one of the reasons why you're crazy to use them. But we need to be there on your first visit. Reach out to us on regarding independent representation. Don't walk into these places on your own. You're absolutely crazy. We have a transaction coordinating team that helps keep the builders accountable. I've said all this in all of our videos on new construction. I'm not going to elaborate more than that. But just to say that you're crazy if you walk into these places on your own. Minto sold this piece of property, which is one of my favorite 55 plus communities, Crestwind, to the builders called Coulter Homes. So here's a map of Westlake. This is approximately 800 or 900 homes of the 4,000 are here. And in terms of value for a 55 plus community, this is something a lot of people look at for those reasons, because of the value it brings as a 55 plus community. Coulter doesn't do just 55 plus. They have communities like Canopy Creek. They have Mosaic up at Port St. Lucie, and I'll go there in a minute. I'll tell you a little bit about that. They have Artistry, they have Alton, all very successful communities. Start to finish, I love this builder. The best title company in the business is with Coulter. We're there for the whole process. And some of the builders, they might be good, and there's at least one or two that are really good builders, but have horrible title companies, and it makes it hard. My transaction coordinating team works with them and works through it. But one title company we don't have any problem with is at Coulter. At least let me I hope this doesn't. I hope I'm not jinxing myself here, but they have a very fluid transaction, and in terms of the quality of the build, they are very high. Coulter did a thing called a initiative called Project 21, which they allowed for more personalization. Again, the builders will not use the word custom unless they are truly a custom builder. They allowed for that. And so what they do is, as an example, when you go to see their models, they'll tell you, even though you only see one floor, a ranch, like we get a lot of people that look just for ranches here in Florida, um, but they will be able to build a second floor in almost all, if not all, the homes that they show there. So there's lots of personalization, especially now with their new initiative, Project 21. There is a lot of room for personalization, similar to Kenko I told you about before. Maybe not quite as much as Kenko, but they are up there when it comes to personalizing and wanting to work with a builder that allows you some extra personalization. So this is something I need to say. So I touched on this, Lennar, and spec homes. They're that type of builder. If you are looking for, I need these cabinets and this floor, they're not going to be for you there. If you want to get a good home at a good price, they are. So their model over at Lennar today here in South Florida is that they're not going to sell you a house that's not more than 3 months out. If you're here in, let's say, March and you want to buy a home to be delivered in October, they are not your builder. Reach out to our team and we can guide you as to what the right place is. But that's sort of how that works. Now, I'm going to go up to Port St. Lucie for a second and sort of highlight a few more builders that you'll find helpful. All right, we're back to the map and we are going to zoom way out. So from like Westlake or Central, by the way, this is the biggest city in Palm Beach. It's West Palm Beach, the center of Palm Beach. Jupiter and Juno are some of the most beautiful places in Palm Beach. We've been getting a lot of inquiries on those places recently. But if you were to go north, and a lot of people are, and it's about an hour north to the city of Port St. Lucie, real estate taxes are higher. Ask me if you want to know what they are. You go to the city of Port St. Lucie, it'll take you an hour. This is an hour ride from West Palm Beach to Port St. Lucie is an hour ride. They have a place. They have Port St. Lucie West, which is where that's where this is here. There is a ton of construction in this area. They have Tradition Square is here as well. And this is one of my favorite communities. I just closed on the house there last week. If you're a golfer and you want a house at a good price, that's a community you should look at, PGA Verano. Anyways, let me zoom out. Let me talk to you. I'll tell you a little bit about the builders up here in Port St. Lucie. So many years ago, they started building out in Port St. Lucie. When I say many years, I mean like over 20. And they built something called Tradition, and they have Tradition Village. So if you Google like the downtown Port St. Lucie, you're not going to find it. The closest thing they have is Tradition Village. And that was one of the big initiatives where Tradition was Mattamy. So if you take the name Matt and you take the name Amy and you put them together, that's Mattamy. And truly, that's how they got the name. They were the children's name of the builder, Matt and Amy, and they called it Mattamy. And they do a lot of business in Tradition. And then in Port St. Lucie, West started expanding, and Mattamy's a good builder. I don't do as much business with them. I'd like to do more. But anyways, they do a lot up in that area in Port St. in the all age stuff in Port St. Lucie. We end up doing a lot of 55 plus stuff in homes in that area. Riverland is one of the best 55 plus communities really in the whole area. It's not quite the villages like you get in Central Florida, but amenity rich, the most amenities you're going to get anywhere. And that's a GL Homes product. Then VJ Verano I mentioned, but they have in Port St. Lucie, they are a lot of small builders. Got a card from one of these guys right here. One's up there. This guy here, Matt Mardona. No, yeah, Marona. I don't do as much with them because they're a smaller builder. But if you want more customization, I've got a few builders that if you want to really truly customize, buy your land, I have a couple of builders you can work with. We can work with. I'll help you run through the process. But you get a lot of smaller builders in Port St. Lucie. And it's just that, and because of that, they do allow for more customization. If you want to go that route, reach out to our team. We'll walk it through the process. It is very, very different. I wish I mentioned this point earlier because we've been getting a ton of questions on this. Have you ever heard of the term CDD? CDD, it stands for Community Development District. When a builder buys into an area that's relatively undeveloped, what they do is they clear it, they bring utilities out. There is a huge cost for this, especially in the rural areas. Another area that's up in Port St. Lucie, Wilder, Wilder, is a good example. There was nothing out there, and now it's going to be a new huge master plan community. Lennar and Meritage Homes, those are the two builders in there. Reach out to our team. I'd love to tell you about that. It's a very affordable area. It's not luxury, but it's a very affordable area. Anyways, when a builder goes out in a place like that, or Avenir, or Westlake, or Arden, what happens is they will develop all that and they will take out a bond. They will borrow the money and they will take out a 30-year bond. And what they do as a new homeowner, when you buy into these communities, they lots of times will pass the cost of that bond on to you through your taxes. This is a significant story if you're looking at Avenir. It's a story in almost every new construction communities. If you see a community that says we don't have a CDD, it's not because they didn't do it. It's because they absorb the cost. If you want to know which communities have CDDs, reach out. I'd like to think that we've really, enlightened a lot of people in this regard, because lots of times people don't know about this. We are a new home co-broker. We deal with all the builders. You ask any of the builders about me, they know me, all the good ones at least. So when we work with these builders, we know the differences between the CDDs. And you, as a buyer, should educate yourself what to expect. CDDs are not paid as an HOA fee. They are paid as part of your taxes, and it sometimes can be a little bit hidden. And I'd love to explain to you, if you call our office, I'd love to explain to you a little bit more about what that means. I should probably do a video at some point on just CDDs. So when we work with clients, when we work with people looking to move here, lots of times will ask you your timeline. And lots of times, the best and worst of the builders are according to your timeline. I didn't mention Devasta. We do a lot of business with Devasta. They've got a great community up in Jupiter called Bridgewater, which is awesome. It's $6 million, so not everybody can afford that, but there are people that do. I get calls from $7 million buyers all the time. Panther National up in Avenir, they get $20 million buyers up there. Anyways, we know these builders well. And let me go to another point on this. It is really easy to be angry at builder. It really is. And if you go to most of these builders on Google and look at their ratings, they stink in general, because the people who complain. The people who are happy don't say anything, and that's why they have like 1.5 stars. In any event, one of the reasons why people use us, a company like mine, like ours, living in Palm Beach, Florida, is that we can help guide you. So if you are looking for customization, you're not going to use Lennar. And if you try to, you're going to get pissed off and you're going to be angry. You have a horrible experience. If you're looking at getting a really value perspective home and you want that, you're not going to go to Kenco because you'll be angry. You'll be upset. You're spending all this money. So there's always going to be something for you. When we sit and talk with you on that consultation, I hate using that term. It's just I can have a 5-minute conversation and give you guidance on stuff. But don't go into the builder. If you go into the builder on your own and call me a week later, I can't represent you on that builder, that specific builder. So, I hate when that happens, but I get calls like that literally every day now. But anyways, we would love to guide you, but we help you figure out the right builder for you. And a lot of it comes down to your timeline. We can, whether it's, and mention a few builders again, whether it's Mattamy, whether it's GL Homes, whether it's Coulter Homes, whether it's Devasta, whether it's Lennar, whether it's DR Horton, whether it's Kenco, whether it's Toll Brothers. We know these builders very well. We can help guide you, and we can tell you what to expect when you're buying a new home here in Florida, whether it be in Palm Beach, Florida, or anywhere here in the whole state of Florida, here in the United States. What's great about Florida is we have A lot of people are moving here. No state income tax. Some of the best beaches in the world, truly. And if you look at Northern Palm Beach, Florida, I mentioned briefly Jupiter and Juno Beach. There is just so much to go here and do here. When we first moved here 18 years ago, we were warned, don't move there because of the schools. That's all a bunch of, you know what? It's not true. If you want to know more what it's like living here in Florida, reach out. Beaches, sunshine, schools, paradise here in Florida.